Well, hello and welcome to the machine. This is Perpetual Geek Machine, show number 107 for Friday, September 20th. I'm host Kevin Alexander. I'm joined today by Dan Zuccarelli, Daniel Lloyd, and Mr. Fred Earhart. And together we combine to form the Perpetual Geek Machine. For those of you watching our live hangout, I finally upgraded my background.
Yeah.
I think it's
by swinging the camera around.
Look at all its majesty.
There's a lot more involved in that. I'm running off my laptop. I had to move all the audio shit over here, over to behind the bar where I'm sitting now.
The Lego stuff. Did you put them over just for the show, or is that?
They usually sit up here, but I did adjust them a little bit. Like I had the Farnsworth house sitting over this shoulder and falling water right there. So I'm all set. I'm good to go. Fred,
Hi.
how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. It's been a while.
I'm glad you're alive.
I
I know you're alive because there's been new Fantastic Neighborhoods dropping all the time.
Yeah, I do that now, and apparently John's back. I don't know if you guys have noticed that.
Well, you guys worked out a schedule.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know how reliable that's going to be. I've got about 7 more months of it, I think.
All right, that's a pretty good run. How long have you guys been doing that now?
Over a year, if not going on 2 now.
Okay.
I lost track.
Yeah, no, that happens.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Mr. Lloyd, how are you?
What's up, guys? I'm good.
It's good to hear. Good to hear.
Yep.
You're becoming quite the regular these days because you're always available.
He always
great.
answers emails.
I don't do anything else.
He's the first one to answer, and it's always, yes, I'm available. Let's do this. So tonight we got a show that hopefully Fred and Lloyd are going to carry because Dan and I don't have a ton to talk about, even though Dan went on this amazing vacation. He doesn't think anybody wants to hear about it. So we'll try to coax some stuff out of him about that. And Lloyd's got some looks like a game. Is that a movie? What the hell?
Video games. They're all video games.
They're both video games. Okay.
Yeah,
and Fred's got some video games and a movie. So if I get around to it, I'll talk about it. A movie that's been out for 4 or 5 months. After that, we'll take a break. We will come back on the other side of that, 5-hit combo. And tonight's topic is the top 5 things we would have included on Voyager 1. And that'll be Fred and Lloyd doing that one, and Dan's going to judge that so I can just sit back and listen. And that'll be the size of it. So without any further ado, Fred, why don't you tell me what you've been doing?
All right, so in between podcasting and the occasional break, I get to play some Magic. Trying to get some more video gaming in. My library is getting pretty expansive without me actually making a dent in it.
Oh yeah.
So
that's a common problem around these parts.
Yeah, especially since it used to be like when I wanted a video game, I'd go out and buy that one video game and then be like, okay, well I'll play this one and then I'll go out and buy a new one when I'm done. And then I realized between GameFly sales, Steam, and the fact that I have money to spend right now, I'm like, oh, this game's $20. Maybe it'll go up in price. I better grab it now.
That is the traditional arc of how things roll.
Yeah. And by the way, no one has
go back up in price.
That's never happened in history. Like a game drops in price and then it goes back up. Never. Like it's a car or something. So
Right.
So this week on Fantastic Neighborhood we do Game Club every week. So this week me and John decided we were going to play the new Amnesia game.
Okay.
Which just came out. I've gotten a little bit into it. I don't know if you guys played the first Amnesia.
I poked around at it. I kind of said, "Hey, what are you? What are you?" And found myself in a dark room with a lot of water, and it was the middle of the day. And I said, "Nah, I'm good. I see what you're doing here."
So yeah, and so we decided to play the new one, which is a game with the most horrifying title ever. It's Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs. And I mean, apparently, it's pretty literal because apparently there's actually pigs. Like there's actually a machine that works on pigs in the game.
Oh, there you go.
I haven't gotten too far into it. Like I think I'm maybe an hour and a half into it, and it's probably like a 6 or 7 hour game. I will tell you this: my apprehension to play this game, based on what happened in the first one, actually has me like, I have opportunities to play it, and I'm like, no, I'll go play another game, because the first one was the scariest, or at least most shocking, like jump scary game we ever played.
Right.
You know, and I used to be big into horror games. I used to play all the Resident Evil games, all the Silent Hills. And that was right before they jumped the shark. I mean, well, they had started by jumping the shark, but like back when Resident Evil was about zombies and not about like philosophical leech monsters. I loved those games, and they were never really scary though. The Amnesia plays on a different level. It's sort of like a psychological. It's not the scares that are there; it's the scares that are not. Because the whole game you're playing through, you're like, all right, something's gonna come out of this. Oh no, it didn't. Something's gonna come out of this. So that's where I am right now. Game follows sort of the same path as the first one. You don't really know what's going on. You're discovering who you, the character, are as you play. You sort of wake up in a daze and you don't know where you are or who you are or why you're there. And then you're exploring what seems to be a big mansion with a lot of like secret corridors and hidden rooms and really kind of like subtly screwed up things happening around you. Like there's very early on in the game you get into a library with a bunch of like Renaissance style art in it, but like if you look very closely at the pictures, they're kind of screwed up. Like there's a picture of like a bunch of like a happy mother, but there's like a cook pot behind her with like a baby's leg hanging out of it or something like that. So the game is very atmospheric. It's very, very much the scares come from sound effects. Like there'll be, scratching behind you and you'll turn around but nothing's there, and then you'll turn around again and booga booga boo. But I'm definitely enjoying it. I gotta beat it this week because like I said, I got a library of games to go through, and I have no time to do it. But I'm really liking it so far. It's like a $20 game on Steam. I jumped on it the first day. I don't know if I wasn't playing it for Game Club if I would buy it for that price, like because the first one's like $5 and that's probably around where it needs to be. But if you're really into like making it hard for yourself to go to sleep at night, this is probably a good title to pick up.
If that's something you're into.
Yeah, if you really like discomfort.
Yeah. All right. Well, what else? What else you been doing?
So the other game
for a bit.
The other game I'm playing, and this is one that John Anderson recommended me, and I didn't really know anything about it, but we had picked it up on an Xbox sale not too long ago. It's this game called El Shaddai: Ascension of the Metatron.
Yeah, and I poked at this game a little bit as well. I picked it up for like $3 on Xbox Live.
Yeah,
that sound about right.
Sounds about right. And so far, it's really hard to explain. It's like being inside of a watercolor painting or something.
It's a very strange looking game.
It's like a bloom lighting everywhere, like platformer.
It's 3D like, platformer-ish fighting and super heavy religious tones.
Yeah, everything is religious overtones. Although it's religion in a way that I feel like only Japan can do.
Yeah.
Like like I guess the devil is this like, I don't know how to, like, very well-kept, like, anime character who talks on a cell phone.
Yeah.
And all the angels are, like, these one-eyed triangles. And, like, this sounds like the ramblings of a madman now that I'm hearing it. But, like, this is really what this game is. And all the stages are sort of, like, abstract art, like, neon-painted colors. Like, stuff's moving, but it's not. But you can't really tell distance in a lot of cases. It's very weird. There's no game who has an art style quite like this that I've seen. Right. The gameplay itself plays like a Devil May Cry or one of those style games. It's actually, the gameplay itself is really simplistic. It's kind of just like one-button combat. Like it's jump and it's attack, and you can vary your attacks based on the order you press the buttons in. That's about it. Right. It comes down to timing, but really you're not playing through this game for that. You're playing through this game for the crazy wackadoo story that it has. And it kind of reminds, not that I know what that story is, by the way. I've played it for a couple hours now. I still don't entirely know what's happening.
Yeah, I was trying to pay attention because that's what I read too. That it wasn't something you play just because it's a fun game, and I was having a whole lot of trouble following it.
Yeah, it sort of does that Memento thing where it gives you like pieces of story here or Pulp Fiction or whatever. Like it's all out of order. And I'm sure there's some things that would make sense if you went back and then saw them, but they show them to you at the beginning. There's like a lot of weird, like, it was the year 130,000 or 4, Yeah. It's really out there. I do like it enough to keep going. Like it hasn't turned me off or anything. It kind of reminds me of this other game we played called Asura's Wrath, which is also artistically very different style, but still had like these very deep, thick religious overtones. It was more, I think Asura's Wrath was more like Hindu and that sort of style mysticism than this, which is more Judeo-Christian. But like the gods were like robots, but they were like anime characters in this game, or in that game. And if that game was done anime style, this game is done a little bit more artistic, a little bit more like metaphysically abstract. It's if you saw screenshots of this game, or even if you saw gameplay of this game, you may not even get it right away. It's kind of a game you have to experience to understand just what the hell is going on. But I think it's worth a shot if you're interested in like really abstract gaming.
Yeah, because it isn't anything that you're going to be knocked out by the actual video game-ness of this video game. So
Right.
It's something you're playing for the look of it and because you're interested in weird things and you like Japan a lot.
Yeah, you really kind of have to like Japan a lot.
Is this download only, or was it out on retail when it came out?
It was a disc. It was
retail.
just it was one of those like digital release things that they
It's
put
weird that
on
it went to
sale
like $5. Yeah.
when Xbox Live finally realized that Steam was a thing and that when you put games on sale, they sell instead of just letting them sit there for $40 for no reason.
Yeah, they had like a week or two where they like tested the water with having deep cuts on their games. So they released a bunch, and like there really were only like maybe a handful that were worth grabbing, and this was probably one of them. But it was like $5 or $3 or whatever at the time.
Star Table Tennis was also worth grabbing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then I think that was the same time me and John grabbed Alone in the Dark for like $3, and then we had to issue an apology on our podcast to people because it was so bad. That was the worst gaming experience we ever had. Neither John nor I got past maybe the first hour. We had to turn it off.
Oh man.
And then yeah, I mean it's El Shaddai like. The thing I wanted to mention about this, I totally forgot. There's a warning at the beginning of the game, which I've never seen before. So I think I know where it's going, but it actually says at the beginning of the game, this game was made by a diverse team of mixed faiths.
Yeah, I remember that now.
And I'm wondering and they use actual biblical names in this game, so
Right.
I'm wondering if there's not going to be references to some other angrier gods.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I guess we'll have to wait and find out. I'm probably never going to play it again. But I got my $3 worth of time out of it. Yeah, let's go over to Lloyd. Because I want to hear about Attack of the Friday Monsters.
Attack of the Friday Monsters.
This is a game that revolves around nothing but Rebecca Black, right?
That's right. Yep. And Patrice, right, the dude from Ark. You did play this, Dan?
I did.
Oh,
Did we just freeze for
Yeah,
on
Lloyd
Daniel's
froze.
awesome internet? There he is.
Oh, there it is.
Thanks, Microsoft. I moved in here to plug into the Ethernet, and still.
That's all right.
But Dan, you said you did play this?
I did, yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, because I was excited that you were here to tell you about it, as it seems like it's up your alley.
Yeah.
So Attack of the Friday Monsters is an eShop game on the 3DS, which is part of the Guild O2 series, which are like these smaller, sort of experimental artsy games that they've been doing and releasing in packs.
Yeah, all from level 5, right?
Yep, they're all from level 5. So Guild O1 had 3 games, which is Arrow Porter, which is like a puzzle game, Crimson Shroud, which is an RPG, and Liberation Maiden, like a shoot 'em up. And Attack of the Friday Monsters is sort of part of the second wave of those, which is kind of like an adventure game. You play as a young kid in Japan, and every Friday there are monsters in town, and they fight.
They fight and they film it, and then it's like a big TV show that everybody gets to watch, but these kids get to see it live because it happens right outside their town.
Right. It's sort of like an old like Power Rangers or sort of kaiju, that sort of thing. Like that really happened, and these kids live in the town where it's happening, and they can see it. So I'm probably 2 or 3 hours into it. And basically, yeah, you sort of run around, you talk to townspeople. There's sort of these allusions to, the monsters are coming later. There's the TV studio, and they're like, yeah, the monsters will be here soon. Like, we make the show about them, and you sort of meet all these characters in town. You collect these little like gems that you find around town, which are like parts of monsters. And once you get enough, you get a card representing that monster. And then you and your friends basically play rock, scissors, paper with these cards. And whoever has the stronger one, you like become their master. So far, it really doesn't do anything. If you're someone's master, you can make them fall down and then tell them to get back up.
Yeah, it's basically like you make them your slave and you could tell them what to do until they beat you at the card game. It's something like that very young kids would do. Like
right, yeah, so the whole game sort of has this sense of like you're a little kid and like things seem grander than they are. I don't know how sort of far it goes. I still feel like I'm not sure if the monsters are real. Like I think it's like the TV show thing, and the kids are like, "Oh, like this TV show is filmed here. The monsters must be real."
Yeah, they're very young kids. Like you're dealing with. Like there's a point in the game where like you find this like piece of wood laid across like a creek, and like it has some writing on it, and they're like, "Oh, what could that mean? I bet you it's a secret code." And like it turns out it's like an advertisement or something like that. But it's like. It's the wonder that when you're a kid, like everything is like potentially like some cool mystery or adventure. Like that's the age group that you're going for here. You're not like a 13-year-old kid or anything like that. You're like pre-jaded.
Yeah.
And when you have time to do that sort of thing.
Exactly. When you have time to run around town and like do that kind of thing. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool. It has the art style looks very like Miyazaki-ish.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a fixed camera, and it sort of changes depending on what part of town you're in. So it's very cinematic looking. Like I said, like as far as the gameplay, there's not a lot to it.
No, it's more like
run around and talk about, but it's the experience and like that feeling of like being young and everything is wide open and awe-inspiring, and I'm really enjoying it.
It's a fun little. It's like the exact right length and price and size. It's just a small little like experience, and unfortunately, it does that current day Japanese thing where like they hold your hand through the entire thing, where like as you're unfolding each, like there's a bunch of different stories as you meet different characters, and they group them into like episodes, and it always just marks on the map where the next place to go is for the next part of that storyline. So it's like you can just like run right from A to B and not really explore any of the stuff along the way, which is kind of a shame. But I kind of wish they would let you explore more inside the game to move those stories along. But
Does some of that stuff come back? Because in the menu it shows you like what episodes you've done or completed.
Yeah, they do.
Because like the first thing was like, hey, take this laundry to the neighbor, and I didn't do that. I just started getting into the monster stuff, and I can't figure out if I'm supposed to still deliver that laundry now or later or.
I'm pretty sure your laundry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're still carrying it around in your bag. And when you eventually talk to her, it sort of triggers. I want to say it sort of triggers it. I don't know if there's things you can skip or miss or what there, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, because I thought I had missed it, but I was like, well, maybe it hasn't come around yet for a purpose.
Yeah.
Can I tell you how much I love the fact that you guys are talking about a game where you control giant monsters, and then one of the tasks in it is for you to mundanely take your.
Oh no, you don't control the monsters. You play a card game based on the actual monsters that fight outside of your town every Friday night.
Yeah, you play like the 6-year-old kid whose parents run the dry cleaners in town. So
and you're playing like if Magic guys were fighting a battle outside your town and you were playing Magic as like a representation of that. Like this. That's
so it's Yu-Gi-Oh. Like. That's what this is. This is Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, but you're not summoning the monsters. Like the card game is just like a rock paper scissors type card game that you'd play with other kids. It just has the monsters on it that show up and fight.
Yeah, there's not a lot of game to it.
No.
In any way, yeah, but it's good. I like it.
It's a very small experience more than it is a game, really.
Yeah.
All right, Dan. I've seen an alarming number of people playing your other game, the Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed.
Oh man, you guys. So I did not play the first Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing game. And this one they have changed to Sonic and All-Stars. They dropped the Sega because they expanded the roster a little bit. Racing Transformed. This is it's on just about every platform, I think. It is a unapologetic Mario Kart clone, but so much better than what Mario Kart has done recently. So it's about a year old. I think it was a Wii U launch game. I've been playing it on Wii U.
Okay. I know it's on Steam too, of all places.
I think it's on Steam for like next to nothing right now.
It was just a daily deal a few days ago, I think.
So So
Like
it dropped down
$5.
to like I got it used at like the local game shop for like $20, which is the lowest I had seen it for Wii U, and I'd heard good things, so I finally picked it up. But it's got the Sega roster, like Mario Kart has the Nintendo roster or the Mario World. So it has Sonic and Tails and Knuckles, Crazy Taxi guy, some people from Jet Grind Radio, Ooh La La from Space Channel 5. It also has Wreck-It Ralph and Danica Patrick in it.
Wow, that's a turn.
Yeah, it's all over, which is why I guess they dropped the Sega. It's just Sonic All Stars Racing.
Is there like a Mario Kart double team mode where you can put both Wreck-It Ralph and Danica Patrick on the same vehicle? Because
No,
I would
there's
buy
not one
that
of
game
those.
right now.
The gimmick in this one is that you can transform from a car into a boat or into a plane, and so Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS did that, but it really didn't change anything. The physics in the Mario Kart were still the same, except now you were underwater. It just added a propeller to your cart, but it didn't change the gameplay in any way. The Sonic Transformed totally changes when you're on the water. Everything's a lot looser. You feel like you're driving a boat on water. When you're in the air, you're flying. You're not just gliding like in Mario Kart. So you can sort of go up and over and all around. There are items like in a Mario Kart game which do the same thing. There's rockets that seek you out and ones that just bounce around and things you can drop behind you. The biggest thing about it is that sort of the levels and the level design can change throughout the race. It's all predetermined. Like on the third lap, this will suddenly happen. It's not like you can affect it in real time.
But you can also anticipate it.
Right, to an extent. So basically, like the first lap is like you drive around this level, and then when you cross the thing and go into the second lap, like it explodes, like something explodes. Like there's a Skies of Arcadia level. So you're sort of driving around the island the Skies of Arcadia takes place on. The second lap, like one of the big gunships, the airships, like blows up the track, and so you transform into a plane, and now you're flying around that level, which is really cool. It makes Mario Kart seem like super static in that way of like it's just sort of basic and. But
I
yeah,
think Mario Kart. I think it's. I say this without any kind of like prejudice or whatever, but Mario Kart is very static. It's been the same game. The only time they took a departure was Double Team, and that was awesome.
Yeah, which I feel like Mario Kart 8 on Wii U is going to be such a disappointment because there's so much potential with that second screen to do something like with Double Dash, to have something else happening, like all your items or whatever.
Right.
So far, the only thing they've announced that the gamepad will do is like you can touch it to honk your horn.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You would think it would be like a rear view or something, right?
Anything, or like stock more than one item, and then
There's
like
a
choose
lot
your
of
items on the
things that
pad, like
could be.
actually throw that, like anything. You built this entire system around a controller, and you're making it honk the horn. And the thing they're doing is like, you can go upside down, like there's like a Mobius strip racetrack in Mario Kart 8, but apparently it doesn't, like the camera just changes with you, so you don't really see that you're driving on the wall.
You just see other people driving on the other side, probably.
That's not till the spring, so I don't.
Mario Kart, since its first game, like since when it came out in SNES, like has had maybe I think 2 or 3 innovations in the entire, and we're up to like Mario Kart 8 now, so it's been a lot. Yeah. But you had the first Mario Kart, which was pretty revolutionary in of itself, still a great game, still holds up. And then like the milestones I would list would be like the addition of the blue shell, which screwed everyone. And then the addition of motion controls with the Wii, which then no one used because they got more accurate controls with the D-pad.
Yep.
So that game definitely needs an overhaul. But
I think, sort of bring it all back together, I think my favorite Mario Kart is Mario Kart DS. And the big reason of that is they had this like single-player like missions that you could do of like either it be time trials or like, okay, like drive through these checkpoints in this order, like just different things other than just racing, which the Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform does. There's a career mode where there's sort of different challenges on different maps, and that's how you unlock more racers and more levels and stuff like that. So the single-player experience, there's more to it than just doing races and doing Grand Prix all the time.
Huh.
But yeah, I'm really loving it. It's great.
So if I see it again for like $5 for Steam, even if I'm only going to play it by myself, probably not play it online at all. You think it's still worth picking up?
Yeah, even if you play, I've mostly been playing by myself. I had a friend come over who is pretty much solely interested in RPGs, and I got him to sit down and play it, and he really liked it from the start. So it's basically what Mario Kart should be. It just ripped off Mario Kart and made it better. So.
Yeah, well, it's nice to hear that somebody ripped off Mario Kart again, because there's plenty of those out, but then they did something.
There's plenty of shitty Mario Kart clones. This is a really good one. Yeah.
All right, Dan, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Okay.
So, what do you want to talk about? Let's put it that way. I don't know what you're going to pick from your list, but what do you want to talk about?
All right, I'll talk about one of the movies I watched on my transcontinental flights.
You watched like 10 movies.
I'll let you guys pick the movie. You guys can pick one off this list, and I'll talk about it. I watched Oblivion. I watched Burt Wonderstone. I watched Monsters University. I watched Perks of Being a Wallflower, Sound City, Star Trek Into Darkness, and Tangled.
Well, all right. I also watched Star Trek Into Darkness recently, so we could talk about that.
Okay.
I fucking loved Sound City. I love that movie.
I actually had a different opinion of it.
And then I loved it. Like, very quickly, what did you think of Burt Wonderstone?
It was funnier than a lot of Steve Carell's other starring roles.
Okay. Well, what do you think of 4-year-old version?
I loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that, but that's the
anomaly in your eyes.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, it is. It had some really funny moments, but the climax of it was like super lame and actually like sort of ruined a lot of what happened before it because it was it was like such a they could have done anything and it would have been better than what they chose to do. It was just like a really weird, lame turn of events. Yeah. I was pretty sleep deprived at that point, so I kind of feel like if it was funny at all, I would have been giggling a lot more than I was. But it was, it had some funny moments. Steve Buscemi is funny in it, and he's always like, whenever he does a comedic term, it's always like really goofy funny. So he was really good in it, but it just, I don't know, it was just a bit tired. I feel like it could have been a lot funnier, but it really wasn't much there.
I'm going to say that you took an extreme on Perks of a Wallflower, that you either loved it or you absolutely loathed it.
Okay. I really liked it, but I loved the book. I read the book came out like right after I graduated high school, so I like really identified with a lot of what was going on with that book.
Right.
Sort of like like it just came out at that perfect time, and even though I wasn't in high school anymore, and the kid in the story was in high school, like he was a bit of a loner, and not because he was like miserable, because he was a bit off kilter and a little weird, and I really identified with a lot of that, and like that book still sits on my shelf actually. The movie did a really good job of translating what I remember about that book. Granted, it's been a long time since I've read it now, but what I remember about liking about that book, and I actually did a really good job with it. The editing was like super interesting because it jumps around a decent amount, but not like in some weird artistic way. It's very scattershot. The way the book was set up was that like the kid in the story was basically writing these letters to like somebody you don't really know who he's reading the letters to. So you sort of got the plot unfolded to you over the course of him writing these letters. So it does jump around a bit as the things are happening to him in high school. Yeah, it's like a diary. So, but he's just like a loner kid, and he kind of falls in with like a cool group of kids for whatever reason who like kind of take to him. He becomes like legitimately good friends with him. There's no weird like Carrie turn in it or anything like that. And it was a very good coming of age story that. Like my wife really liked it. She had seen it in the theater, and like the flight was so long, you're kind of just like picking movies. Like, yeah, I'll watch that. Like, I got another 90 minutes. That's not really a problem.
Yeah.
you're watching movies like you're watching TV shows.
I had the same experience. I read the book like right after high school, like my first year of college, and loved it. And I read it 2 years ago and did not like it that much.
Yeah, I have a feeling
that's like it was very typical. Like, oh, I know why I loved this when I was 17. Like it, but like now it's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
But the movie was great. The movie was excellent. I love it.
I would never want to go back and read the book again because I have a feeling that's exactly what I would say.
Don't keep the good memories.
But watching the movie, I was able to sort of apply the movie to what I remember about reading the book back in the day, which was probably like the perfect way to do it.
Yeah. Did you like Oblivion more when you watched it this time, or when the first time you saw it when it was called Moon?
Yeah, I was actually like, yes, that's exactly my wife was about to start watching it on the plane, and I said, you remember Moon, like, you kind of liked it, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, you've already seen the better version of Oblivion, so you can just go ahead and watch something else.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, nobody watched it.
That's only a spoiler
theater.
if you've seen Moon, so.
Yeah, and honestly, like, nobody saw Oblivion, and it's not. There's certain movies I hold up to like not spoil for people, and Oblivion's is not one of those movies. I wouldn't go out of my way to do
Although
it.
it has the, I found out afterwards that the director is also the director of Tron Legacy,
Okay.
and both of those movies definitely have like style over substance. Like they
Yeah,
look
it's
It's
awesome.
like digital
but,
jazz, man.
Like, yeah, totally.
There was a couple of times during Oblivion where I thought, like, how did this get made, and why did Tom Cruise agree to do it? Like, it's just so like sort of by the numbers, but must have had a good sized budget. Like, it sort of defies logic as to why it got made.
We also have no idea what the original script looked like. There's probably a million factors in between when that movie got greenlit and what ended up on the screen.
Maybe. I mean, the vehicles were cool, the few vehicles that there were, and the setup was actually really neat, but then as it started unraveling itself, it was like, you know, it's one of those things where like you watch a movie or something and like the hand is beginning to reveal itself and you just kind of go, what? Like that was sort of the takeaway.
Like, it's the same director. They both had like a really great design. They both had great soundtracks. Like Daft Punk did all the Tron music, and maybe 3 did an original score for Oblivion,
which is good.
Yeah. So this guy's like he knows how to make things look and sound really cool. But the stories that he's chosen to make are not so hot. So.
Yeah, and like Tron Legacy, like the second you point at like any of it, like it begins to unravel at a fascinating pace. But if you don't look at it deeply at all, it's a very fun
I listen to that
movie,
soundtrack all the time.
So do I.
I remember the movie better than it was because that score is so good.
Yeah.
That I hold it in such high regard, but I never really want to watch it again.
Yeah.
And see, on Periphery, I had the impression that you loved Tron Legacy, so it's
Who, me?
Dan, Lloyd.
I liked it.
I liked it. I just don't ever want to see it again.
It is a hot mess, though. Like toward the end of that movie, it's a hot mess.
Yeah. Once I started thinking about it afterwards and realizing that like none of it made sense, I was content to just, you know what, I'm never gonna watch it again. I liked it when I saw it. There is no way I would like it if I watched it again.
Same boat. So
All right,
I'm just gonna leave it go.
Let's chat about Star Trek Into Darkness then.
Sure.
I really liked it. I mean, it's kind of like a Star Trek action film.
Like a Star Wars movie, then.
Yeah, it is a Star Wars movie. Yeah, actually, you can
Those new Star Trek movies sure are good Star Wars movies.
I mean, I just really I have now spent more time in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek universe than any other Star Trek universe.
Okay.
And I really like this place. I like this cast. I like their versions of the characters because everybody has at least a pop culture level reference to the original Star Trek characters.
Sure, yeah.
And so I really like what they're doing with them. I love people like Simon Pegg is great as Scotty, in my opinion. I mean, I like it. So as the complete non-Star Trek fan, it makes me want to dive deeper into the universe in general. So I do plan on doing that whenever I'm finally finished watching Cheers. I'm going to go back and start at the beginning of Star Trek.
Like the original version?
I'm going to go back to the original. I'm doing the whole thing.
All right, have fun with that.
I know, that's what I always hear, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
Godspeed, Christian soldier.
The people that are like afraid of J.J. Abrams doing Star Wars movies, like a part of me wants to go, are you really afraid? Because he's already made 2 Star Wars movies in the past couple years, and they're both pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
they had just renamed a couple of those characters and called it Star Wars Into Darkness, we all would have fucking flipped our shit for it. Same exact script. All you have to do is change some characters' names. It really is a Star Wars.
They had an episode to it. Like,
this makes me super excited because it's going to be that plus lightsabers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
what I mean. When a lot
like-
of people did lose their shit when Abrams, like in a bad way, when Abrams was announced as he would do Star Trek or Star Wars, and I said, "Fuck it, man! If there anything like those Star Trek movies, I'm first in line. They're awesome."
I mean, the thing is, like, if for the hardcore Trekkies, and I know, Kev, like we talked about this a little bit, like they don't really conform that well to the Star Trek ethos. But I love Star Trek, not the original series. I like Next Generation, but I also have no problem with them ramping up like the action and the violence a little bit. But it is sort of anathema to what Star Trek was originally about. So, and it's actually more of what Star Wars is about, which is probably why I like the movies more generally, because I'm more of a Star Wars kind of, I like spaceship battles, like that ship's cool.
Right.
In Star Trek, it's usually just like put the shields up, and then whoever's shield dies first, like they just give up. It really is.
It's a war of apathy.
Yeah, I mean, they spent that entire movie like threatening to fire those torpedoes, where in Star Wars they would have been fucking lighting them things off left and right. Like,
get me more torpedoes.
I need more of these. I need more of these torpedoes.
The first 20 minutes of Star Wars, they blow up a planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need force torpedoes. Yeah.
They actually make it a habit
movie is just about whales
blowing up planets. Like, typically speaking, hell, in the first movie, 2 planets get blown up if you count the Death Star.
You know what it is? Star Trek, if you go back to the original series, and you'll notice this, they didn't really have a great grasp of what... Like, they still thought that space travel would be like, you're on a boat with a captain, right? It was like a lot of Navy metaphors. And Star Trek kept going with that for a long time, while Star Wars was more Air Force. That's the best analogy I could make.
Okay.
So if you go back to these new Star Trek movies, you'll notice that there's still like a hierarchy. There's a captain and so on and so forth, but it's a lot more like they realize they're in space. Like there's the med bay doesn't have life preservers on the wall and shit. Like it grew up a little bit, and like. It is more violent, but if you go back and watch the original Star Trek and all that, like they were fairly violent for the time. It was just like everyone was hitting each other with rocks, And
I think
it's a lot more brutal in these new Star Trek movies, because in the old ones they just shoot you and you disintegrate.
Yeah, I think my thought was more of just like like the VO of the beginning of Star Trek is like here's the Enterprise, its 4-year mission to explore,
right.
And like that was more of the thing of like, let's go find cool civilizations and help them if they need it. Whereas now it's like, let's go explore and probably kill whoever we end up finding. So far, that's really what's kind of like, I don't get me wrong. Like I said, like I like these movies, and I have no problem as a Star Trek fan of bringing them in and enjoying them for what they are. I actually think they're doing a very good job with it, but I do get the people that are upset about it, I guess.
I wonder if these Star Trek movies are going to lead off into...
It's not a violent... It's not like a, hey, Ben Affleck's playing Batman sort of, response, but there's like some people that just it rubbed the wrong way, and I get what they're doing. You just don't hear about it a lot because they're not screaming from the rooftops like crazy people.
They're just the internet is their screaming.
Yeah, because internet. Anything else you want to talk about, Dan?
I went to Europe. We can talk about that.
That's still there?
Yeah. It's still there. It's been there for a long time. It'll still be there.
Talk about Star Trek all night, but just briefly mention that you are.
Well, I mean, I could talk about the trip to my friends for quite a while. I have a pretty good slideshow set up, ready to go.
I'm telling you, like we got to do that. I'm all over that.
Here's the conversation. I went to Europe. It wasn't in Star Trek.
Yeah. I watched it get blown up in Star Trek before we landed there. I went to Barcelona, France, and a couple places in Italy, which was amazing and not like anything I've ever done before in my entire life. So I doubt I'll be doing it again anytime soon. But learned some interesting things. Came back with like a huge Goodreads list about history topics that I became interested in as I was standing around looking at some of these things. It's sort of mind-boggling when you're standing in the Colosseum and they tell you that it began construction in the year 70 and was finished in 80. Quite often they refer to things as like, and remember this is BC or this is AD, or my wife and I went to Pompeii, which was destroyed in the year 79 and really was a vibrant town in the second, third, fourth century BC. So to see to stand on those original roads and these original store stalls and a lot of that stuff is still there, and think that my Xbox 360 lasted me about 2.5 years, and this town is still there. Thousands upon thousands of years later. So I guess I'll share one funny story, which is probably like one of the funniest things that happened to us. When we went to Florence, we saw David, Michelangelo's masterpiece that he did when he was 26, which was both
also depressing,
all inspiring and depressing in equal amounts. we did like this walking tour of Florence, where the tour guide was actually very good, and her English was excellent, which helped immensely. Took us on a tour of like a couple of cathedrals and a bunch of statues and things like that, and stopped in like the main square to ask us if anybody had any questions. And a guy raised his hand and he said, "Yes, when's lunch?" What? And like even the teenage girl who had like her nose buried in her like iPhone, even she like looked up and gave him like such a look of derision, and I could see the tour guide's facade crack like a tiny bit, but she's a pro, so she like pulled it back together and was just like, about an hour. Like, and it was one of those things where you want to just grab people and go, we're not all like that in America, I promise you.
How many trucker hats with the American flag on it was this guy wearing?
That guy, we didn't have any, but every once in a while, man, you saw one, and it's like my wife and I would just kind of like nudge each other every once in a while, and it's like, yep, there's one over there, and like that shirt's got an American flag on it. Yes, it does. That girl's got her sweatpants tucked into her cowboy boots because she's from Florida. It was like it was amazing. I learned a ton, and I've seen pictures of a lot of that stuff, but to actually stand there was sort of ridiculous, and puts into like perspective how old the world is compared to the States.
Yeah, we don't have shit that's old here. If something's from the 1700s, we ooh and ah over it like crazy.
Yeah, like you would consider my house very old for the States because it's 103 years old.
Right.
In Rome, the tour guide had told us that like whenever she refers to New Rome, she means between 100 and 150 years old. That's what they would consider New Rome. So,
well, guys, that's why they named it New York and New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's newer than the regular Jersey, but this happened in the 3rd century, but then this happened again in the 14th century, and then you realize like that's 1,100 years apart.
Yeah, why aren't people learning from their mistakes?
Yeah, it all just repeats itself. People back then were just complaining about the same shit they complain about on Twitter now.
Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek. But yeah, it was really amazing, and the second we got back in the States, I kind of wanted to go right back overseas again. The language wasn't as much of a problem as I thought it was going to be. We only ran into a couple of issues, but everybody was really nice, so you can sort of pantomime your way through it. Yeah, and I honestly was worried that people were going to be sort of shitty because we were Americans, and like I think we get inside our bubble a little bit of like, we get up our own ass pretty well, and while a lot of countries have legitimate gripes with the States, most people still generally dig people from America, which was
I think
cool.
a lot of those people are quick to understand that a lot of us also have the same gripes.
Yeah, and like everybody that we talked to, like one guy just wanted to talk about basketball, so I had to fake knowing shit about basketball for like a half an hour. But he was like really into it. Like luckily nobody asked me about football. The only people that ever asked me about my job were other Americans, which was like aggravating. Foreigners always would rather talk about different things, which was great. Every American that we met within 5 minutes. So what do you do for a living? I don't fucking care this week. This week, nothing. I don't do anything for a living this week.
Exactly.
The danger there is when you're in a foreign country, especially Europe, and someone asks you about football. That's just the precursor to them going like, your football's not as good as ours every single time.
They're actually right though. So I was actually I fit in really well. The NFL is a terrible sport, and I could fill an entire podcast of talking about why it is a terrible sport compared to soccer or football, whatever they want to call it.
Well, bringing it back around the cheers, it was one of the points about why football's bad sports is, earlier today I was watching an episode.
Oh, was that from Cheers?
That was from Cheers, yeah.
That's wonderful. That
was Sam and Diane. Sam says, you know how much football you can miss in a half hour? And Diane says, about 18 seconds.
She's not wrong.
Yeah.
You've been watching Cheers for like 2 years now.
There's a lot of episodes of Cheers, though.
275 episodes. Get off my fucking back, man. Come on.
One of the longest running sitcoms of all time.
It's 12 seasons of like 26 episodes a season or something like that. It's a lot of fucking Cheers, man. I'm in the 5th season. So give me a break.
Okay. I had wonderful. I got to watch a lot of soccer while I was overseas. It was always available on whatever sports channel I could find, and you didn't need to speak the language to watch it. So I did have many people ask me how I was into it in the States. And
how do you consume this?
It's not that easy, I got to tell you. But it was It was awesome. I don't use the word life-changing all that much, but I definitely had a much different perspective when I came back. So
You've been different since you've been back.
Happier? Is that what it is?
You've been simpler.
Oh, I like that. I'll take that.
Eating a lot of charcuterie, wearing silly hats.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't all, we did see a lot of churches and stuff, but we did do a Disney cruise, so I still got my flavor in there. We still had a pirate party on the cruise ship deck one night. So, it wasn't all statues and churches.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to call it quits on what you've been doing and take a little break. So we're going to do that. I don't know what music we're going to put in here because we've been really lazy about getting permission, and so might just fall back on somebody else we have permission from already. So we'll see you on the other side. All right. Does anybody need to take a break?
Nah, I'm good.
Nah.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too then.
All right, cool.
Welcome back. All right, we're just going to get right into 5-hit combo, and I am not set up to play the wonderful intro that Mr. Jonathan Mitchell has provided for us, so I'm just going to read it. 5-hit combo is a friendly competition in which two players read back their top 5 list of a given topic in a 5-4-3-2-1 style, while a third player judges the list based on his or her own personal tastes. The players may change every week, but the game is perpetual. And this week, our topic is the top 5 things we would have included on the Voyager 1 in honor of a human-made object going into interstellar space, which is fucking amazing, gentlemen. That is, like, one of the coolest things that's ever happened in this world. And, it included...
It didn't really happen in this world.
That's true. Thank you for thank you for calling me out on that.
In this universe.
It included a bunch of things that are basically like an introduction to humans and Earth.
Yeah.
It even includes like a gold record that has some. I think it's data, or is it actual like sounds and music in that?
It's audio. It has like the whole thing built in to be able to play it though.
Right.
Like there's not the needle necessarily, but it includes instructions on how to do it. And I want to say it has like the sound of a human heartbeat, like hello in a bunch of different languages, like sounds of the ocean and nature. I want to say like Chuck Berry's on it, a couple of things like that. Like,
that's really awesome. So it was launched in what, 77, 79?
77.
Yeah. So it also, we actually earlier over the weekend from our Twitter account at Perpetual Geek, I tweeted a link to an Imgur album of all the photos that were included on Voyager 1, which is really cool to look through and check out some of that stuff.
Yeah, it made me think about Contact.
Yeah.
I love that movie, but it's just like how do you communicate with a race that might not even I had to think about how to communicate with somebody who just spoke Spanish. Like you have to like stretch your mind of like what sorts of communications another an alien race could have and how you would talk to them that must have been the coolest fucking meeting to like be in ever, to really have to think about that stuff.
Yeah, what do we include?
Yeah, like how and how do we say it? Like how do you say it?
Right.
That's so fucking awesome.
All right, so Fred and Lloyd are going to be counting down their list, and Dan's going to judge us. I'm going to turn this whole show over to Dan.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, you're judging, so
I didn't know I was judging. I'm not prepared.
It's written in the itinerary. It's been there since
this afternoon.
Yeah.
I have a coin. I'm prepared with. Probably.
You didn't have your microphone earlier. I don't believe you have a coin.
I don't have a coin. It doesn't matter. It's going to be the same thing it always is anyway, right? Who would like to call the coin in the air to go first or second?
Oh God, what a decision! Should I do it? I mean, I don't know, guys.
All right, I'm gonna have Fred call it.
I mean, it's heads or it's tails, but what are those really? I mean, there's an existential question here.
It really is.
And I just, I don't want to make the wrong decision because that could haunt me for the rest. Tails.
All right. It's tails actually.
All right.
Yeah. You could get with this or you can get with that, and you decided to get with that, and that is tails.
I picked the right side of the existential coin.
What does that mean? Do you want to go first or do you want to go second?
Now
comes the important decision.
I'll receive on this one. I'll go first.
Not going to defer to the second half?
No, it's fine. So my number 5 item I would put on the Voyager, I wrote human DNA, and but not just any human DNA, the human DNA of Michael Ironside. And the reason I would do this is because I think it's very important in case we want to get into like a species sort of situation where they have to clone us over there, so we can, like, maybe we can't get there, maybe the distance is too great, but maybe we can have our presence there, and I feel like human manifest destiny will take care of the rest. And if anyone was going to conquer an alien species, I feel like it would be Michael Ironside.
All right, can I ask for a clarification? Could we use like a stock photo from Starship Troopers to send along with the Michael Ironside photo so they know what to so he knows what to look like?
I feel like I would expect nothing less. I feel
Okay.
like the vial that contained his blood or whatever would have to have like sharp, jagged edges.
Is that what Species is about?
It's the reverse of that. The aliens send DNA here,
Okay.
and then we integrate it with the human baby.
We foolishly play God, Daniel.
So I want to turn the tables on them, and I feel like Michael Ironside would be just as horrifying to them as that alien was to us.
If we wanted to stop the alien, though, we'd have to send Forrest Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker's DNA. All right, that's enough weird references for one night. Dan. Number
yeah,
five.
my number 5 was decorations. This is a great achievement for humankind, for science, for technology to send this thing so far for so long. Like you're talking about things being around for thousands of years. This thing has been going since '77, and it's still it's going like thousands of miles an hour. And the batteries have not, like, it's still working and still transmitting shit back to Earth. Well, it did. It's too far now, right?
Yeah, we're
But
we're kind of guessing on the distance at this point.
You know, there's not been a ton of like design or style into NASA stuff, so they could have spruced it up a little bit, put some streamers on it, or fill it with balloons or something. You know,
like a Hello Kitty sticker, maybe.
yeah,
or
like
something
if this ends up somewhere, like
Like
you
a
know, have
baseball
it look
card or something?
celebratory. Like
Yeah, you don't just want it to be like a big metal box that hits the ground. It'd be great if there was like a noisemaker or something after it landed to like announce its
exactly.
arrival.
like you win. You're the thing that found us.
When the aliens find it and open it up, confetti comes out.
Yeah. It's like an interactive, like it's like a gift basket.
Like if you're gonna go through space, you know, like Doc Brown, like if you're gonna travel through time, why not do it with a little style? Like
Yeah, let's go.
So-
That
Yeah,
is
put
one
some
of
decorations
my
on it.
favorite answers for any 5
like
combo
flame,
ever.
like paint some flames on it.
Like
like
flames on the side, like a
Yeah.
number. Just. All right, I like that answer. All right, Fred, you're number 4.
All right, so the assumption with Voyager was that if there is a higher intelligence out there, it would eventually encounter this, which is why we loaded it up with all these goodies. So I thought, we want to show them that we are worthy of them coming, hanging out with us, and we'll party. So my number 4 is that we should have included Scotch, because nothing would prove that we are a worthy higher intelligence than the greatest thing that we as a people make.
And it just would have gotten better this entire time. Like,
Oh, yeah.
fresh Scotch. You
Would it
know?
have held up to the radiation of deep space?
That's
Put
neither
it in
here
a
nor
lead
there.
box. You're done.
Yeah, there you go.
And I couldn't decide what kind of Scotch, but then I realized like whatever age we put in there would be fine by the time it got there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That is
And
So
true.
you can just go with a 12-year. It's fine. It doesn't have to be expensive.
You'd have to convince.
We're
them.
not made of money.
If this metal box lands with a lead-lined box inside with liquid, and one alien looks at the other and says, "Oh, I don't know. The instructions say to drink it." Fuck you! I'm not drinking it. It's in a lead box.
I don't know if
What
that
is that
happened
good
here. If something fucking came from space and that like some dumbass human would drink it, they'd be like, "Fuck, I'll do it." Like,
Yeah, man. On a
Yeah,
dare,
that
they would
be a
drink it.
running,
I'd drink some
like,
space
frat
wine.
bet.
Drink space wine.
What you could sell as space-aged
Yeah.
Scotch.
Nice.
Oh my God.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I think I've just discovered my next money-making venture.
Space-aged.
you just have to wait for drinks from space to get here.
All right, Dan, you're number 4.
Number 4 is so similarly, if this gets found somewhere, we want to show them that we're ready to party, and we did put some records in there, but why not just put a full-on sound system in the Voyager? Some thumping bass. Just have that thing ready to go.
I love that Daniel's treating the Voyager like it's on Pit My Ride.
Pet my Voyager. I think Kevin's just been having me like participate in all the 5-hit combos to see what stupid ass answers I'll come up with. Like, I just have him cracking up laughing every week.
If I don't do this podcast for me, who am I doing it for?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, just put a full-on sound system in there.
Sound system. Yeah.
All right, number 3, Fred.
All right, so my number 3 is actually a solution to a human problem. NASA, the pundits of NASA, who should all drop dead, constantly accuse them of being wasteful of money and inefficient. So my thought was that what we should put on the probe is another probe, because it doubles our efficiency. And about halfway through, we just launch it in another direction.
Well,
And
a
that
separate
way-
direction would be like counterproductive, wouldn't it?
Well, like not a parallel direction, like left.
It could just go like up. it really could just go like up or down.
Yeah, left in space. Take a
Like
left.
any direction.
Don't take any more than a 45-degree angle in any direction. How's that?
Yo, dog, I heard you like
Another-
probe.
Listen, we load this thing up with tinier probes, we shoot them off, and like just spray space with probes. And then no one can accuse NASA of being wasteful because we're getting the job done. We're putting shit into space. What more can you ask for?
All right, Fred, I want to make sure you're okay with this. I just wrote down probe on probe action. Is that okay?
I think, you know what? I would have it no other way.
We put a Voyager in your Voyager so you can probe on
you
probe.
can voyage while you're on a voyage. All right, Danny.
That's pretty good. Number 3, we're from America, so some sort of novelty bumper sticker. Baby on board.
My other
my
probe
other-
is Voyager 2.
Yeah, my other probe is Voyager. Not to say that.
I want to make a bunch of novelty Voyager bumper
How's my
stickers now,
driving?
right? Yeah.
my driving.
Call 1-800-4NASA.
If this probe's a rockin', blame Zoltheron the Third or whatever. Like.
All right, Fred, number 2.
Okay, so this one's almost serious.
Almost.
A copy of Star Wars.
That was almost on my list.
So Star Wars came out in April '77, and the probe launched, I think, in September. So we had plenty of time. And
To
Star
put a
Wars
home
is-
video copy of Star Wars on the...
Yeah. The series was still so filled with hope and
I
potential.
researched that today to make sure that like Star Wars came out in time to get on the Voyager. It just didn't make my list.
Right. Part of this is because I think alien life would like to see what we consider entertainment past just music, because music is important, but it's not the full scope of our entertainment. And at the time, Star Wars was it. This is the best thing we've ever created. The other reason is because if we ever get out into deep space travel and are able to reclaim the contents of the Voyager, we'd have a pristine copy of Star Wars that Lucas hasn't screwed with.
That won it right there. But also, Star Wars is real. It just took place a long time ago.
Yeah. It's like
So
a historical record.
maybe the Voyager will land on Coruscant, and they'll be like, "Hey,
Land
they
in a
know."
galaxy far, far away.
And then the aliens think that this is either a propaganda film or some sort of historical record.
They'll become known as the historical documents, and Galaxy Quest will become real.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where this is all heading.
It's the second time I've talked about Galaxy Quest this week.
That's
I need
been
to-
a good
I need to
week.
rewatch
That's
that.
totally fine. Yeah, that's great.
That's a good week.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, number 2.
We sent this thing into space without lasers. So my number 2 is like lasers or some sort of self-defense. Just because it's going to space, it ought to have lasers.
Should be like
Everything.
a requirement.
Everything.
When did
The good
lasers
news
become
is
the
that
ultimate
with-
space weapon?
With the
Star Wars.
soundtrack that you've included on the Voyager, with that sound system, it can make the pew 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 noise in
Yeah.
speed.
But yeah, not enough lasers.
The number is currently at 0, which is not enough lasers. All right, Fred, number 1.
All right, so this one took some thinking, guys. The number one thing I would put on the Voyager space probe would be the band Rush. And
So that they would die on the way out there?
no. First of all, I'm
Because I'm
sure
all
that
on board for that, I'm just saying.
of all the bands that would love to be put on a probe and shot into space, it would be Rush. Like they'd chomp at the bit for that opportunity, right? They would totally have gotten some new inspiration for whatever album they were going to put out. And it's also possibly the only way to get like my super technical musician friends to stop talking about Neil Peart's goddamn drumming on YYZ. Like, it's the only way I'm going to get peace and quiet from Rush is to put them on a voyage for all mankind.
Yeah, we would have, at the time, we would have fucked up and put, like, sticks on the probe or something.
We really be regretting that.
In '77, yeah, the Bee Gees would have been on there.
Yeah, that was the next year. The Bee Gees were big, but that's when they really took off, was like 78 after Saturday Night Fever and all that.
Yeah.
They weren't space probe big at that time.
They weren't launching to space big.
Although Nights on Broadway is a better song than anything Rush ever did. The Bee Gees' Nights on Broadway song.
You could say that about a lot of songs, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't mind saying it.
Like Friday by Rebecca Black.
The Bee Gees are good.
I have no problem with the Bee Gees.
They're even. I mean, I like the Saturday Night
It's
Fever
Rush
stuff, but even
that
before that, it's good. Yeah,
It's Rush that I can't abide.
I don't think I would have such a dislike for Rush if so many people didn't have an unreasonable love of the band.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, this would solve that problem. They
But
just
would it? Because then they'd be like, "Yeah, Rush is so awesome. We sent them like that's how good they are. We sent them to space."
Yeah.
You're probably right. They probably just like you just wait till they get back, man.
Yeah.
You'll
But
be
I've, like-
practicing in 0G.
Shouldn't we have really sent Bowie into space?
Yeah, but then they wouldn't have been in Zoolander, so.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And then that Flight of the Conchords song would be a historical document.
Yeah, see? Maybe it is. All right, Dan.
Alternate universe.
You're number one.
So just let's not think about logistics. But we should have put some way to get that thing back. Like, okay, go as far as you can, see what's out there. Once it's dead, we'll bring it back and see what's left. So a really long rope, just like tie a rope to it and send it off like a kite and just let it go. And then when we stop getting stuff back, just reel it in.
Dude, rope would burn up. You'd probably have to use something stronger, like
Hey,
fishing
it's
line.
NASA, man. It's NASA. We put dudes on the moon. We can figure out how to get a rope in space. Some sort. Like I was thinking, like there should be a homing beacon or something. I was like, we'll just put a rope on it.
Just go low tech, man. Just yeah.
Like a fishing bobber.
You just have
Occam's
to.
razor.
You just have to like give it one good like yank, and it'll just cruise back to.
And it would. I was thinking about like the thing is going thousands, tens of thousands of miles an hour. So wherever this rope is housed, would just be flying off the spool like crazy for 50 years.
And somebody would have been a steady work of manufacturing more rope to tie onto the end of the current rope.
Exactly. Economy saved. NASA saved. Yep. And then once it gets taut, just pull it back and see what we learn.
You would need to produce like over 200,000 miles of rope a day.
But think about all the rope that's ever been built. Surely it's enough. Like
no.
all the
is?
rope,
You'd
Kevin.
You'd have to tie them together
line.
like we could start using bed sheets.
Different
tying
types.
them
Yeah,
together.
exactly. Different types of rope. Like whatever.
Bed sheets.
All right. Dan, do you have a tabulation?
Yeah, the score is
Summation.
this silly.
Yeah.
Are we ready?
What the fuck are you talking about?
So the top 5 things that we should have put on Voyager 1. Number 5, Fred said human DNA, specifically Michael Ironside, and Daniel just wanted to decorate that thing. Some flames, a couple of stickers, maybe like a glitter package or some streamers or something. I went with decorations because a big metal box is just kind of boring, and really just should have put some flames on there.
Yeah.
Or something. So yeah, Danny gets decorations. Number 4, Fred said spaced-aged scotch, and Daniel just wanted to put a full-on sound system in there. I went with the space-aged scotch because space-aged scotch is just a phenomenal term, even though I still think you'd have a hard time getting anybody to drink it, but whatever, they're aliens, so they'll figure it out. And like you said, the aging kind of takes care of itself. So, done. We can put the cheap shit on, and it'll be the good stuff by the time it gets there. Number 3, Fred said probe on probe action. Why launch one probe when we could have launched a probe on top of a probe and then just had it take off afterwards to double our probage. And Daniel wanted to put just some sort of knobbly bumper sticker on there, and I went with the bumper sticker. Again, would have gone good with the decorations.
Yeah.
And, probe on probe, that's just ridiculous. Number 2, Fred wanted to put a copy of Star Wars that, if we ever managed to find the thing again, would give us an untouched copy of Star Wars, unsullied by the hands of George Lucas's re-editing. And Daniel just wanted to put lasers on it, and I would love to have an untouched copy of Star Wars that didn't have Lucas's re-editing fingers all over it. And what better way to show that we're a peaceful people than to send them Star Wars to watch?
Yeah, to send them the good Star Wars. If we
show us blowing up
edition,
planets.
that'd be intergalactic war.
That might be the bad thing, is like they see Star Wars, they love it. They come and find us, and then we offer up like the prequels. It's like, oh no, we got more of them here. Check them out. So Fred got that one. And number 1, Fred wanted to send the band Rush, and Daniel just wanted to have some sort of way to get the thing back, like a really long rope. And I would love to get it back. I'd love to be able to get that thing back down here and see what it saw and see what kind of damage was on it and all that kind of stuff. And really, I don't want to give any more notoriety to Rush than they already have. So unless we were packing them inside proton torpedoes, I don't really want to have anything to do with the band Rush. So there you go. Daniel wins 3-2.
Bravo,
Excellent answers
gentlemen.
all around.
Bravo.
Good job, sir.
That was fun.
I enjoyed that one.
Yep.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us here. Show 107 of Perpetual Geek Machine podcast. Remember, you can always contact us. Any questions, suggestions, or comments, podcast@perpetualgeekmachine.net is our email address. You can find all of our other jams at our website, perpetualgeekmachine.net. So that's going to do it. And for Mr. Fred Earhart, Mr. Daniel Lloyd, Mr. Daniel Zuccarelli, I am Kevin Alexander. Thank you for listening. And until next time, we are shutting down the machine.